Good morning, everyone. I gotta check the clock because I'm not good tracking time. That's my wife department there. So talking about time, I want you guys to take two small trips with me back in time. The first trip we're gonna take is when my son Blake was about 4 or 5 years old. He's now 14. Can you believe it? So one day outside the house. We had a small shed. It was full with shovels, axe, machetes. Don't ask me what I have machetes at. And a bunch of sharp, dangerous stuff. So I took everything out of the shed and make a big pile. And as I started with a garden hose, I started washing the inside of the shed. The water pressure on the house was amazing. It was not like a power washer, but it had a tremendous amount of pressure. So I'm watching everything, and I'm Blake. He's 4. He's playing, and I keep an eye on him. The pile of stuff, danger stuff is here, so he's safe over there. I'm not worried. But I'm watching him because he's, if you know Weston, my little one, Blake was similar. He was jumping around, but I was like, it's okay. If for him to get through the danger stuff, he has to go through me. So we're good. Little did I know, I blinked and he was almost there. And was like, he was just almost at the pile of the dangerous stuff. So I was like about 5 feet from him, and I was like, okay, keep cool, because if I yell, he's gonna flip out and fall into the stuff and get hurt. And then I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I saw my hand, I saw the nozzle, the water pressure. I was like, hey, Blake. And when he turned, I pointed at his face. Don't feel bad. You don't know how he was like. So when he turned toward me, I crank on the nozzle, I aim it at his face, well, right at his face. And excretion, the water pressure went like a jet and hit him in the face. He froze, his eye got this big, and he started crying. I was look at my mother go like, there's a reason why I didn't tell you that before. So, but he stopped. So I was able to drop the hose and grab him. And he's crying, he's very upset. And I'm like, when I saw his face, I felt bad because I, but I was like, I needed to get his attention somehow, right? Because the other alternative was him getting injured. So that wasn't going to happen on my watch. So we have a connection, we have a routine. Anytime we go to work, uh, him and I we hug. I kiss him 5 times in the cheek, 5 times on the other one. A few kisses in the front head. A big hug, and then I would go to work, happy. And then that day, that didn't happen. He was like he thought I was angry, but I wasn't angry. I was just concerned. But when it was time for me to go to the firehouse for my night shift, the routine didn't happen. So I went home to work like heartbroken, and I was like, and it was so I was so distracted that even my coworkers was like, hey, you okay? You feel quiet today? No, I'm fine. So I remember that shift was terrible because I was just thinking about him, about that connection that we have, the routine that we had didn't happen that day. So I couldn't wait until my shift was over so I can go home and hug him and kiss him. And that happened the next day. I went back and I can tell he always, when I open the door, he said, "That is home, that is home." And he would come in. And I was like, I was opening the door very carefully because I was like, man, if he's not there, it's gonna be bad. But as soon as I opened the door, he was there. Daddy, and he hugged me. And I was like, and he hugged me and hugged me. I was like, yeah, that's the good stuff. I told you this story because that got me thinking on my own relationship with my father. They got up there. And I was thinking, how many times have we ignored his calling? How many times have we ignored his warning? And he wanted us to be in the path, and we went this way. because we didn't want to listen or because we just ignored him. But like I was so eager to hug him, to connect with him again, I was thinking, I believe also God is the same way. When we go the other way, when we don't listen, he's eager for us to come back so he can do this and hug us and kiss us and just connect with us. And I was like, I was thinking in some instances when I felt that I was not worthy, and because I didn't listen to what he wanted me to do, I was like afraid to go back to him, but I to realize, no, he's my father. He hurts when we are hurting. He hurts when we are struggling. But he just wants us to just come back to him and reconnect with him. Now, Luke 15, you guys know the story of the prodigal son. Luke 16 said, while the prodigal son was still far away, the father saw him. And then the Bible said the father felt compassion for his son. And when he was close enough to him, he hugged him, he kissed him. And can you imagine that moment when the father thought that his son was dead and now he's in front of him alive? His son was lost, but now he's found. The father was so happy. He even told his servant, I put a ring on his finger, new clothes, kill the father's calf, and let's celebrate. They have a feast because my son is back. So that's happiness. God have the same and even more for us when we come back to him. But the prodigal son realized what he did, right? He even felt unworthy. He said, I sinned against the heavens, against my father. I'm not worthy to be called your son. But the father is always waiting for us to make that step and go back to him. He is perfect, and his love for us, I call it also perfect. He shows us the love for each one of us all the time. There's a lot of stories in the Bible that tell us about his love for us. One example in particular, one of the famous verses in the Bible, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only son to die for us, right? So we can have eternal life. That's the perfect love that he did that for one of us, for every one of us. And there's, I talked about the love for the Father for us. Now, I want to talk to you about the Son and the perfect obedience. Jesus was sent to earth as the greatest gift that we can ever have. And do you remember what the Bible says about this is the other trip now I want you to take with me. This a little longer back in time, about 2,000 years ago, when Jesus was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. I butchered that, but you know which garden I'm talking about? When he was praying, when God was telling him the plan to save all of us. Luke describes that Jesus' sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Can you imagine that moment when Jesus was processing what he had to do for us to be with him someday in heaven? His father gave him the plan, and he said, Father, it was so overwhelming that he even said, Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. Perfect love from the Father, but perfect obedience for the Son. And because of that, we all have a chance to be with him in heaven someday. And I want to talk about that moment with the sweat looking like blood. There is actually a medical condition. It's called hematidrosis. So it is so rare. So only handful of cases were recorded in the 20th century around the world. It is extremely rare. But the doctors believe it happens when someone goes through such a stress or trauma. I mean, extreme stress. There, there is the around the sweat glands. There's these blood vessels, tiny, tiny blood vessels. And if you go to that kind of stress, the body fight or flight system gets activated, and then those uh, tiny blood vessels rupture. They need to go out, so they go out with the sweat, and it appears to be like you sweating blood. But for that to happen, it has to be very, very extreme, and that kind of reminds me of what Luke described in Luke 15 there. But there's also other theories from a theological point of view. We're not going to get into that, but I just wanted to focus in as a human being. I remember how many times I've been in such a stressful situation that I've been close near death, or it was so extreme that like never. I went to a fire academy. The training was intense. I remember training and seeing some of my classmates puking and passing out, but never sweating blood. I remember one of my one experience that I had. I was about 9 years old. I was left alone in my house. At that time, I was with my mother, and it was 1 in the morning, and I woke up. I'm by myself in the house. That's another story for another day. But I'm 9 years old, woke up with the sound of like a broken window, and the first thing I did, oh, my mom is not here, and I was like, oop, I'm by myself, and then I realized that somebody was breaking into the house, and I'm like, this is not happening. Wake up, and then I realized it was real. So I remember then the door was broken. Whoever wanted to get into the house got in the house, and I'm with the blanket. I put my blanket, and it was hot. If you remember, in the Dominican Republic in the summer, it was really hot. So I got the blanket and I just got in there. And I remember starting shaking. I can hear the robbers whispering to each other, "Bah, bah, bah," and I can make out what they're saying, but I just can hear the whispering. And I can tell you there were three, because there was like three different voices. And one of them realized that there was a child in the house, and I heard when one of them said, "Go and check." And I at that moment I remember when I had the blanket on me, I can hear my heart. I started being it's just pounding faster and faster and faster. I started sweating and sweating, and I was like, I'm dead. But besides thinking that I was gonna be killed by those guys, I was terrified. I mean, I was just I can't describe what I was feeling, because it was fear that I never experienced before. And when one of those guys, they got into the bed, and I can feel the bed doing this, so I roll over and I touched the guy's knees. And that moment, I passed out. I don't remember what happened after that. Just when hours later, my mom came in, and she said, "That's another story." But I remember the that moment. I just said, "God, uh, I'm in your hands right now." But not even there when I thought I was gonna be killed, or worse. Uh, that I never sweat blood like Jesus did, because and that got me thinking from a human perspective. What Jesus felt has to be something incredible for him to do that, but he did it out of obedience, because his father told him the plan, and that was the only way. And for love and for obedience, he did it for you and for me. J- Uh, I remember when that happened. Even I had some PTSD from that episode. Even after I got married, my wife would know when I would dream about it because I would start shaking, I would start sweating. She would say, "Do you have that dream when the people?" And I said, "Yep, I did." She said, "I can tell," but it's it 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 did something to me that because when before I passed out, I say, "God, I'm in your hands," and that was it. Like I woke up and I was untouched. Everything the people didn't even take anything. So God protected me that day. And because He loved me and because He loved each one of us, He died for us. And that's the perfect obedience, perfect love. And because of what Jesus did, we are gonna be with Him one day in heaven. But here's the thing. There's one guy, he doesn't like that plan, right? There's a guy that he hates the idea of all of us being in heaven with uh with the Lord one day. So like Jacob read in Peter, First Peter, this guy is like a lion. He is a lion, and I would change one word. He's a hungry lion trying to devour each of us because he can't stand the idea that we're gonna be in heaven with Jesus someday. He knows this. That's gonna be our future for all eternity. But he also knows why is his future, and he wants to take us with him. As many people as he can. He wants to take us with him. So he's like a roaring lion trying to devour everybody. But because of what Jesus did, because now I know and I'm confident that death has no power over me. There's no how it doesn't. Yes, we're here, we're gonna die someday, but this is not it's not the end. What comes next? That's what we should be focused and what coming next. So my family and I went to there was a bunch of stuff going on. And I remember Marissa and I we were talking one night, and I was like, "Do you feel it? He's spoken. He's trying to disrupt what we got. He's trying to take us with him. And what we're gonna do? No, I'm not gonna let him do that. Because because of what Jesus did, now I have the power to tell that beat it. Now because of what Jesus did, I have the power to tell that hungry lion, you better become a vegetarian today. Because you're not making a meal out of me. Not today, not ever. Because of what Jesus did, I can tell the lion, you are not gonna get in between my marriage and do whatever you want to do. You are not. You are not welcome. Because of what Jesus did, I will tell that lion, you are not taking away what God promised me. Not a chance. And you are not gonna break what God restored years ago. So I am not going to let him, not just me, but the people that I love, I'm not gonna let him do it because Jesus already did the hard work for me. And he showed us the way. For us to go to the Father, we need to go through Jesus. He did the hard work for us now. Now we just need to follow. And it's never going to be easy, but when we have uh, the power of the Spirit with us, and we have the promise of God, and we have the power, we have the promise, we know what we need to do. And even though it's hard sometimes, but remember, that Father of us, that guy up there, he's not like this. He's like this. Come, come. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for that embrace, for embrace you, to kiss you, to have you in my arm. Uh, when Jacob asked me more than a couple months ago, I remember I met with him and he talked to me, what are you going to talk about? So I told him a little bit. And I said, but when I talk to people about God, about anything that is related to the Bible, I always like to finish talking about Ephesians 6:10. And he laughed and I said, it just is first one of my favorite. Second, I feel that the spiritual warfare, it's just as real as you and I. We just can't see it, but it's so, so real. And it's funny because I can be talking about, birth, you know, the birth of Jesus or the death of Jesus or whatever. But I always like to, at the end, talk about Ephesians 6:10 because to me it's very important. Because growing up in a third world country, you see things, and now living here also you see things, and you just see it. When you know what the Bible says, you understand that the devil is out there doing his job, and he's not alone. So you know that Ephesians 6:10 talks about the armor of God, right? And it says, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God. It doesn't say, just this or just this, the full armor of God. Because that if you have the full armor of God, we can take a stand against the devil's schemes. Because as our struggles are not with flesh and blood. And we as a human, we react with what we see. At work, we have people that might not like the way we do things, and they attack us and do this, and we react to it. And yes, that's life. But the real battle is the one we are not seeing, but we have something that's going to help us fight it. It's the armor of God. It keeps saying, because a struggle is not with flesh and blood. It's against rulers, against authorities, against powers of this dark world, right? Against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. It's everywhere. So when I say we need the full armor of God, we need it. And as a in a battlefield, there is a strength in numbers. Another thing that my wife and I were talking the other day, that some of our friends are going through difficult situations, and we're praying for them, and we were talking. Some of those friends they didn't want to tell other people, for they have their reasons. That we were talking, if I'm going through a difficult time, I yes, there are people that you're more close with, but you want warriors with you to help you pray, because there is a strength in numbers. Because we are fighting a battle here. So if you're going through a difficult situation, don't feel that you have to carry that alone. You talk to your loved one, talk to people that you know that are going to be praying for you, because we need all the help that we can get to keep fighting this battle. And when I think about, if I feel that I'm not, that I need to sharpen my mind, or I need to, because I know I believe in this, so all I need just to open it, and this which reminds me that I have the power to fight, because Jesus already did. He died for us, so we can tell death, so we can tell the lion, beat it. I have the power to say, get out of here. And it's not easy. It's we humans, but we need to realize what we got here. We got the promise of God. We got the armor of God that we can put it on and go to battle. Because, like I told you, he doesn't like his plan, and he wants to take us down with him, and that's not happening, right? We're not gonna let him do it. So, and I get it. Life here gets we get busy, and we got bills to pay. Uh, we need to buy a car so we can go to work, and we need this, we need that. Those things are essential for us to do life on earth, and we work for it, and we bless for God. I pray, I give God thanks every day for what we got, But those things are essential to do life here on earth. To do life in heaven, we need God. We need that strong and living relationship with Jesus. We need that strong connection with the Father. That is what we need to focus on. Because what comes after this is a promise that God gave us that we're going to be with Him someday for all eternity. And we need to be alert, like the Bible said, because the lion is trying to take us with him, and we're not going to let that happen. The lion is going to try to disrupt our families, our relationships. And because the power that we got from the Holy Spirit, from Jesus, we can tell him to take a hike. Yeah. Because we are going, our goal for this year, like people say, I have a new goal for the year. Great. But my main goal is to strengthen my relationship with my Father. So one day I can hug him and give him a bunch of kisses everywhere. And that's my goal. And I hope that's yours too. Yeah. Thank you.